Let's do it. Live today. Oh, bless me. Thank you. Yeah, this thing's out on time before people get on. Bless me. What's up? Are we on, Bracco?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. So, hey, everybody. What'd you have for breakfast today, Bracco?
Nothing.
You didn't have a big hearty bowl of soybeans?
No. I just DM'd you real quick. Check it out.
Sick. All right. Well, let's get to work. And talk about this exhilarating market. There is a lot to cover to discuss this morning. I say that sarcastically. I actually really don't have much things that I'm super interested in. Um, I'm just gonna run through the pre-market movers quick on a couple of headlines. This ONDS is gapping up 15%. Um, kind of in a little bit of no man's land. You could, possibly higher low right here. It's good if you actually has a cycle of price action, reversal extension, kind of, building for a wedge pop. Maybe we'll see. Not mega interested in that. They did have good earnings. They raised their revenue guidance pretty significantly. FLY, Fly Aerospace, which is a IPO. This is up 20% following their earnings. Also kind of gapping into no man's land. This, was trading at about $74. It's down below $20 as of yesterday. Again, not interested in. CSIQ had earnings. It's up 10%. This is building out its like first consolidation following this base-ish breakout right here and the high volume.
Oh, you didn't. Oh, okay. All right.
This
You
is
didn't.
dessert.
Okay.
What's
Okay.
up?
You didn't include the link in the live Zoom links channel. That's why people were confused. All good. All good.
Oh, yeah. Oops, that's my bad. Oh, there we go. Everybody in? Uh
Yeah, we're
all
good.
good. Um so yeah, CSIQ is just starting its kind of first consolidation. I'm gonna keep eyes on this and some of the other solars just to kind of see how they trade on that today. This is clearly the probably the main leader in solar slash energy storage. We've been talking about for over almost a month now that these are going to be viewed as energy storage businesses versus solar manufacturers. Um, so I'm curious as to how some of these trade today. Baba, some of the Chinese stocks are gapping up, following some AI something or other on Baba. They're overhauling their AI app to rival Chat GPT is the headline. Baba, had kind of a little bit of a breakdown below 1010 lows, and is now gapping up, like I said, 4%. Um, still kind of fairly interested in these. K-Web still looks, really troublesome. But this is, certainly an area of the market that I'm tracking. Futu, looks some of the strongest. I think this is probably trading closer to some of the more brokerage things than, just like the China stocks. Baidu also is probably is probably the strongest, most attractive one of kind of the main China names. Again, not super interested in it. And then XPEV is, with Rivian and all that stuff is kind of starting its first consolidation, potentially following this pretty large move from 22 to just below 30. Um, and at the index level, Bracco, you've got a little bit more. Geez, we're still drifting a little bit, aren't we? We're sitting right at the weekly lows right now in pre-market. 617, this bullish open gap. We're actually losing that as we speak. And below the 20 May. Very curious as to if they defend this spot. It, I don't see much of like setups that would, be like exciting if we do kind of go red to green and hold this area. Maybe some develop throughout the day if that occurs. But as of now, doing scans last night, I looked through just about everything, and tried nailing down a list and really had a tough time kind of figuring out some things to focus on, and to discuss. um so in fact I could find some of just more and more things like where I'm like, ooh, I don't really like that. Continuing to lose some like leadership groups, Irene. But this is coming down into the first test of the 50-day movement. In fact, this might be interesting if the market does recover. I just don't know that it's going to um recover today from this like nearly 1% gap down. um but again, we're at an interesting spot, right? We're at this 617 in bullish open gap and right at the 20 May here. um we could see that some things step in this week. It's Thursday now. We've had a $7.90 range on the Qs roughly, um, for the entirety of the week. To put that into perspective, Thursday, 11/6, last Thursday's candle was $12 of range. So we've had 4 days of just pure sideways action, and even within that, very few stocks really standing out. I see JMIA's pushing a little bit. This is one, just in general, this is kind of the structure that I like to look for, right? Big move, getting nice and tight. This is a little bit looser below the MAs than I like. It had its earnings yesterday. I wonder if it got some sort of upgrade this morning or anything. Argentina stocks, GGAL, CEPU. I'm still tracking these and interested in them. You probably take some, feeler positions if you'd like. Um, at any point in this, I am a little bit fearful that I guess that this GGAL is going to turn into like a SATS situation. Um, which I don't want that to be the case, but either way, not all of them end up looking like this. Some of them end up looking like, um I guess I can't really find one right now that has followed through recently, but anyways, um with the gap down though, um eh, if things go red to green, there's going to be some charts that stand out and signal within kind of my strategy of pullbacks to the 20 MA, higher lows and red green, right? Where you get that undercut of previous day low, you reclaim the previous day low, you reclaim the close, and then you kind of start taking out some range. So I'm trying to be prepared for if that occurs. I just can't really find a whole lot that I'm super interested in. So I do want to hear what Brock has to say in case, I'm super far off in my judgment or my kind of analysis of what I'm seeing. Be curious what he's got.
You would be curious, wouldn't you? Um, I mean, no, the fact that that you're having trouble finding stuff, I think it says a lot because you usually have no shortage of at least some setups that you're interested in. So to see you, have this kind of tone in your voice today is pretty telling. But no, I feel like I've done a pretty good job kind of since Monday, really emphasizing not that there's been nothing to do, but that there really has been nothing to do. At least for me, right? Everybody's different. I saw there's been some people able to kind of find some of the outliers this week and, put on a couple nice trades, which is nice to see, but most people in an environment like this are gonna struggle. Especially if you don't size down, cut size or even just slow down your trading a little bit. You can lose a lot of money in a market that's just kind of chopping around sideways. The theme this week has kind of just been like, I mean, besides the areas where some of the money's rotating to, right, like some financials and healthcare and stuff like that, most things in like tech and growth, they kind of just been fading the range. Like not much stuff has really faltered on breakdowns. Anything that tries to break out over range has been getting stuffed. Even some of the price action leaders are seeing some volatility at the highs. And I kind of agree with you. I mean, I like to think that this, gapping down into this bullish gap and right at the 20 MA that, we can undercut, reclaim, and, get a strong close and start to push up. But like, where is that going to come from? I'm having a hard time finding like any constructive charts that, will lead these indexes higher like this. My bias has kind of been lower. I mean, part of that is like kind of talking what I want to happen because I would love for this market to pull back and retest lower again, just to shake up some positioning and some sentiment because I've seen I went back and I was looking at the indices last night, just scrolling back through the chart history and looking at previous times where we had a sharp correction and rebounded vertically pretty quickly and kind of just rested and put in this like pattern above the moving averages. And very often it ends up rolling over, and when it does lose the 20 MA, it rolls over pretty aggressively. Um, First one that comes to mind is kind of like this area right here back in August where we kind of reclaimed and we're pretty tight above the 20 MA. The range breakout failed, and when it breaks to 20 MA, it falls pretty quickly. I think of like this was a little bit different scenario, but even like back here in September or August of 24, kind of same kind of thing where you get the recovery above the MAs and then this like tightish pattern and just like breakouts and breakdowns fail. And then when the 20 MA finally cracks, it's just like a, a really quick kind of scary candle. I feel like we're kind of at that stage right now. To me, things look like they want to test lower. I'm happy to be completely wrong. If we do undercut today and reclaim the gap, probably your best spot to try to like get some low risk exposure on some things if you are interested in some stuff. But I think if you're looking to trade the short side and have that bias, a break below 617 and base below it, and like any struggle to reclaim is probably a short opportunity. I'm not really interested in that. I just haven't loved the tape or the price action recently, so I'm happy to just kind of wait till that shifts a little bit. But very slow pre-market action again. Couple earnings this morning, couple things moving on earnings. Nothing really moving off any PRs or headlines or anything. So yeah, pretty dry right now. I hope this can work itself out pretty soon and we take out this range just to give us something to work with. But yeah, I don't know that I have much else to add. You know, it kind of feels like I could work like really, really hard to try to find like one good trade and like, take a little bit of money out of the market just to like feel good. But, that one trade you try to look for turns into a bad trade and then you can kind of just end up spiraling from there. And to me, that risk to reward's not worth it. I really want to wait till we get a period where the setups are kind of coming to me, they're screaming at me and, a setup is so good that I'm like, okay, I have to take this, right? Um, So right now it just feels, you don't want to have to work really hard to try to, find one good trade. If some people do and they can make it work, that's awesome. Not really for me. I think that's turned into some pretty bad situations a couple times. So I'd rather just kind of sit tight for now. Um, Yesterday I did say that it felt like decision day. I was wrong. We literally just closed exactly where we closed the previous day. But today I feel like
It's
I'm gonna
like
come back with that and say it's a decision day again. I think like Soxel and semis are gonna be a big tell if these reclaim the 20 MA or just continue to sell today. Obviously, large cap tech was a little weak yesterday. We'll see if that falls through, but yeah, I have really trouble kind of saying anything with confidence right now. The only thing I can say with confidence uh, is that I'm happy to sit tight and not do much right now. But as far as market direction and what's next, it's really tough to get a read right now on anything. So yeah, just gonna sit tight today. Hopefully something comes up. I'll be here scanning and stuff. But yeah, that's what I got. I guess same thing I've been saying every morning all week. So
he's sitting tight, folks.
I am sitting nice and
Um,
tight.
hey, one thing is, this is how they get you, right? There's they get you to form these opinions and ideas, and all of a sudden nothing happens or the opposite happens, and then you start to doubt and question, when in reality it's just like, hey, just chill. You don't need to formulate an opinion. You don't need to have big thoughts. Just wait till big thoughts are rewarded. Um, right? Um, the only, like, I guess, theme that I see in some scans is that there, and this is just going to be the case for any period really, is probably some of these earnings gappers um that are setting up FIX still looks, this is a very thin stock, not super trade like tradable in terms of range necessarily. But bottom line, like, this is a really attractive um setup there. And then did this jam, I get some news this morning, because this did end up kind of, as we were just hopping on,
Earnings.
just it had earnings today.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I thought earnings were yesterday. Um,
Maybe. I have no clue. It just says earnings this morning.
Gotcha.
Maybe it
Okay.
means moving off yesterday's earnings.
I'll take that. Um, that is an attractive chart. But another thing, I mean, Braga, I kind of felt like you were talking, right to me, is that I've had a tough time getting traction on anything. I've had a number of consecutive losing trades, and a couple of the last ones I probably have forced a little bit to where I'm like, okay, you don't you don't need to have an opinion, you don't need to have a thesis. But that's just, that's always going to be my approach especially, like, for example, like, I took like CRDO yesterday, at one point, as we were kind of reclaiming some of these levels here, just like, okay, if this holds a 50-day and then we go red to green tomorrow and take out that high, I'll be happy with like a little bit of a cushion in position. We're still putting in a higher low at the 50-day moving average, and we still might, right? Like, that idea is still on the table, but is this something that I really need to take, or is this something that's like A plus for me to get a little bit of traction back? Probably not. Unity, I'm okay with the ideas and the attempts that I've taken on this. Um, it's just this one just hasn't worked as much. And I'm still interested in this if it reclaims a 50-day moving average and goes red to green. Some of the shorter term stuff has been working nicely. Again, like, this is the amount of follow through that you're getting. Like, I know Chartmaster took a little 30-minute pivot off of this push right here at like 1650, and then we're just right back to that spot here in the pre-market after this. AMPX, again, no real look on this. Like, that's like loose and jumpy and unpredictable. Kind of reminds me of like APLD, where this like man, like this should have gone by now. This should have gone by now, and then kind of falls out. You did have a good message on this SMH. I will say if this just an optimistic visual, if somehow this goes red to green and puts in like a big bullish engulfing candle, that's gonna look super hot. uh, don't know or don't think necessarily that it's going to, but that would look really good. On the flip side, if this does close kind of down here around 350 or even slightly below, the next thing that we can look for is some sort of higher low against this low right here in the 50 SMA to start to form out, possible little double bottomy type action. But this is one of the concerns kind of that we had, was that this is going to form like this nice, tight-ish looking bull flag that, takes forever, chops around, and then, comes to a decision point. And, we've seen a few of these form like this broadly with no momentum and no kind of supporting ideas around it, that ends up kind of falling out a little bit, which I think is a very realistic possibility. Um,
But I feel like I've been faked out on setups like this on the indexes so many times.
yeah, me too.
Where it gives this really tight, nice, what looks like a flag and consolidation, and then it sells pretty hard, and then puts in like just a vicious higher low and like locks everyone out from there. Um, and it's kind of just dangerous for me to like try to put trades on in an environment like this. I kind of like what Short Bear said about he tweeted, he had a thread he posted on SNDK yesterday evening. I don't know if you
Mhm.
read the whole thing, but he
I
had all
did.
his notes on it. Um, and he talked about it's like having one drink. And to me, that's kind of like how like it kind of feels like if I put one on and it doesn't work out, the ego comes into play, and especially in a market like he talked about the SNDK, how it's dangerous, much more dangerous sitting in like a losing position when the action is really grindy versus like a really strong move against you, because it's
Yeah.
easy to convince yourself to like stay in the position, which then compounds into 3, 4, 5 times loss than you originally planned for, right? Because it's easy to get out of something when it just viciously moves against your stop. You're like, okay, get me out. But when it kind of just grinds against you, like, okay, maybe it's gonna, come back down, right? It's just like that psychological trick that price
Mm-hmm.
action can play on you. And I feel like in this type of market, God, it is so easy to like hold on too tightly to opinions, especially if you get on any sort of tilt levels. So like, best for me to just, yeah, just not do anything.
Yeah, I agree. Market opens in 5 minutes. Are we crazy? I mean, does anybody have any? Is there anything I'm interested in? Please shout it out. Anything you want us to look at. Um, I'm not saying that there's you know nothing, because again, like I said, Twilio. If this goes red to green, yeah, I'll probably take it. Like I'll probably try this. With a $2-3 stop, right there. Would I prefer that it kind of close like this and then another little candle, maybe tomorrow? Yeah, I would. Um, AMD, yeah, AMD is pulling back. It's down 3% in the pre-market, actually near yesterday's low, already.
Yeah,
Um,
if it violates yesterday's lows and continues to see the selling pressure, that wouldn't be a good sign considering the volume it had yesterday.
that'd
Would
be
kind
very
of hit towards a seller being in there that yeah, is trying to get out.
like almost like not the exact same, but the same philosophy as like an Oracle situation.
Yeah, like a
Yeah,
news failure.
yeah. Thoughts on Bull. My thoughts on Bull are the same that it's been since May, June, July, August, September, October, and November. Anyone who's looking at this stock deserves to be um, uh, tarred and feathered, because it is absolutely atrocious. Thanks for that.
Disney's down on earnings. Damn, RGTI's back at 27.
So I don't care if you end up making $1,000 or $10,000 on it. It does not deserve your money or attention. Good question. 250. What was your original kind of stop idea? Was probably today's low. First off, good entry. Yeah, like the yesterday's low of day. I'd probably put it, right around there. Let's take a look at that. So he's got a stop at or entry on AMD at about wait, I think you mean 250. Um, you could use low a day. I'd give it probably I'd say 249, maybe 248.75, just kind of arbitrary
And
in
he's
there.
actually long for 150.
Oh, really? Oh, 150. Oh, perfect. From like back here when where would your stop be? The 50-day moving average. Probably. Yeah, below the 50-day moving average. For sure. Yeah. NBIS, I'm not interested in NBIS. This looks like it's going decently lower. Maybe into this gap low in that 80, yeah, 90, what'd you put? 85 to 90 area. We'll see. I mean, it'd have to really drift down there quickly. Not interested in that. And the chances of it then popping and then rejecting, pretty high.
Market's open.